to Illini Drive on 107.1 WPGU. I'm new here for the Thursday show. I'm Brendyn Jones, joined with Nithin Reddy and Gabby Hajduk, who are usually here. Guys, I mean, it's been a really somber day, somber last 24 hours in sports, especially college sports. How are you guys feeling?
Better than before, but yeah, it hasn't been. The last 2 days haven't been great.
Better than before what?
Just better than earlier. Because earlier in the day, I felt like I got all the news and I got all the emotions almost out.
It also felt like it was just notification after notification, every different conferences, different sports, different leagues. It was really tough. Gabby, how you doing?
It's been hard. I mean, you guys know I'm transitioning into the sports editor role, so just keeping up with everything has been crazy. It seems like things are changing by the hour in the sports world. And it's interesting to see because, with this coronavirus, it's impacting everybody, but it's really taking a toll on the sports world. Yeah. And obviously that's not meant to, say that sports are more important than everything, but it's really hard when the whole sports world is shut down. And it's kind of emotional as a sports fan, as a sports journalist. Our jobs, our lives are kind of up in the air right now. It's where do we go?
I think your point is so valid because I think the one thing that is always there no matter what happens in the world is sports. Anytime there's a national tragedy or something very, very sad happens, sports maybe takes a little bit of a delay, but it's always there to kind of remind us that at the end of the day, we're all here together and we all enjoy this thing that unifies not even the whole country, but the entire world. And the fact that is slowly being taken away from us, sport by sport, nation by nation. It's something that is super uncharted for us, especially us as sports journalists. But yeah, it's something that, obviously we have to live with, and I think it hits home, especially for us as Illinois fans and Illinois reporters, because this is the best that they've been in almost half a decade, more than that. And now no team will be participating in either Big Ten tournament or the NCAA tournament. News came this morning about the NCAA tournament and the Big Ten tournament.
And the ACC.
And,
almost
all Power 5 have been canceled. Most of the other ones have been canceled. Hearing that, when you first saw that notification from either Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, what was your initial what happened?
I was kind of yeah, I know this is coming because after yesterday when the NCAA tournament went from no fans and then the Big Ten tournament said they'd have no fans, and you saw I don't know if you guys saw the Fred Hoiberg video.
That was scary.
That looked horrible. I think this is inevitable at some point, so I'm not super surprised, but it's also another thing where when you see it, it almost supplants it in your brain that, this NCAA tournament's not going to happen, and sports is just going to have to take a backseat for a while, which definitely sucks because it's something that, just regular people use sports as an outlet to basically avoid, their problems.
Yeah, definitely. And the good thing about Fred Hoiberg is that it is just
I'm glad that it's just a cold and nothing with coronavirus. But, it's just the whole thing that, it's compounding. One thing after another keeps coming out, and it's almost you just have no faith that it's going to stop at this point.
I know it's just super scary, as we said before. We've never been here before, and
to just touching on reactions. I feel like you said, it was coming, but at the same time, it hasn't hit yet because all this news is flying in our faces, and so it's this is occupying us now, but it's when the time comes for March Madness to what would have happened, it's going to hurt. And I think you look at the Big Ten also announced today, and I think this is the biggest thing. March Madness aside, I know that's the most popular event that's taking a hit, but all Big Ten sports through the end of the winter season and the spring season are canceled. So there's no baseball season, there's no softball season, golf, tennis, gymnastics championships, wrestling championships. Everything is done till possibly the fall. We don't know, and that's the frustrating part is we don't know. Yeah. And nobody knows, and that's okay because this is really uncharted territory, and I want to make that very clear. to anybody who is listening right now, like, it's okay for the media to not know. And it's okay for the NCAA to not know, the MLB to not know, because they can't come out with these promises or these huge, like, we're canceling the football season, because you can't make any of those rash decisions right now. But it's frustrating as a fan, as a journalist, as just, like, a lover of sports. Your passion and, that thing is taken away from you right now. And I think it'll unite the sports community and make us all even stronger in the end. But I, like, want to, like, send my condolences out to every, like, spring sport athlete and winter sport who's finishing up, that are seniors, that are played their last game, their last match round in an Illinois uniform, and they didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Like, that's so heartbreaking to me. Like, they didn't even know they were done, and now they're done.
Yeah, after that Iowa game, I feel like it was just, so apparent how happy they were. Kipper Nichols, Andres Feliz, Sampson, you got Tyler Underwood. These are all, and not even to mention wrestling, who just competed at the Big Ten tournament last week. You have, Travis Piotrowski, who, kind of went off. Eric Baroni, who went off in these tournaments and, who punched their ticket to the national championships, and they were going to, compete to be All-Americans this year, something that those guys have never done before, and now it's just like that, just taken from them. And you mentioned tennis, you mentioned, gymnastics and other Big Ten schools. We don't have it as a D1 program, but rowing, I have some friends that do rowing. It's just, there's just so much that it's like, wow, like, it sucks because, like, I could never even imagine, like, you dedicating your whole entire life to become a D1 athlete at any school, or even, I mean, not even D1, D2, D3, all these programs, and at, like, without any, real warning, because this came up on us in the last 48 hours, the seriousness just exponentially grew, and now it's over. And, there's no way that, we can really console them. I mean, it just sucks, and they have to deal with it. But, it's super sad to see. I think the one, thing that we can look at is as the seniors, they won their last game. They went out as winners. They didn't have to lose in the Big Ten tournament, or didn't have to lose in the NCAA tournament, and it was a great win, and it was a super exciting win, especially in basketball. But, yeah, I mean, it's just something that, we as journalists, we can watch, but we don't really know how that feels.
It kind of reminds me of, I think it was the last Summer Olympics where the Russian, like, doping scandal was happening, and a lot of the Russian athletes were basically, for a time at least, being forced to step down, even if they didn't partake in it. And it's sort of like that, in that this is just out of the athlete's control. I mean, they can't do anything about it, and it's just terrible because you're seeing seniors that are missing these opportunities. You're seeing, even like basketball, a team that's having the best success since arguably like 2005 even. Yeah. I mean, and they're not going to get a chance to compete for, I mean, they probably wouldn't have won the Big Ten tournament or the national title, but they were at least in the running. Yeah.
Right, no, of course.
You never know, and that's the thing about it. You're taking away, like, memories and experiences, and it's no one's fault. I mean, obviously.
No, and I think
it's really hard.
The hardest part is that it's no one's fault, and that's why it's so frustrating, because you can't put the blame on someone. It's not the commissioner's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's not like this is a scandal. Like, this is something so big, so much bigger than sports, but it affects everybody in the sporting world. And, we're not here to, like, get into, like, politics or world health or anything. So, that's why we're just focusing on sports. But obviously we do know the coronavirus is bigger than sports. I just want to, like, throw that out there. But I think it's heartbreaking also, just because you take someone like okay, I just did an interview a couple weeks ago with a golfer, Giovanni, men's golf. He is in his senior year. He's from Belgium. He sacrificed everything to come play at Illinois, play golf, because he's from Europe. He probably can't even leave to, and I'm just using him as an example because I just talked to him, but he can't even really go home to his family. Like, there's so many things that it's his senior year. He expected to really have his biggest success his senior year and use this to advance him to the pro level. That's gone. Yeah. And it's like, I know people on Twitter have been talking, like, are athletes going to get eligibility back? And that's going to be a huge discussion in the coming weeks and months. That's not a question anybody can answer now, but it is a really good thing to think about because it is no one's fault. So you can't place blame on anybody. But then I feel like there also has to be some sort of like compensation for these athletes who lost their whole season. I mean, for someone like a golfer, their main season is starting right now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really hard, and I think you'll see a lot of schools in the coming days follow with the Big Ten because all 14 Big Ten schools have or not suspended, canceled everything in the season. So I think you'll see that. I know Duke and Kansas did the same thing, and that's kind of what sparked this whole thing and everything with the March Madness tournament. But it's such uncharted territory. It's just really hard to navigate for anybody, whether it's us as a journalist, a fan, an athlete, a coach. Athletic director Josh Whitman just put out a statement, sending his, regards and condolences and trying to explain their decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a hard time. It is.
Yeah, and it's also like, well, I'm thinking of, the best pro prospect that we have at Illinois right now, and that's in Ayo Dosunmu. And it's kind of weird because if you look at all these mock drafts, they always value the one and dones, because that's who they assume has the most talent, and usually they're right, but it sucks because maybe not people might not have been looking at Illinois on the national level just yet, and they Ayo would have had a chance to show not just what he can do in the Big Ten, but what he can do at a national level against competition that he doesn't see all the time. And it's just reiterating, what's really sad. And, hopefully that, this doesn't affect his pro dreams and his pro hopes. I don't think it will. I think he's a solid prospect. What I really am worried about, though, and I don't know how much this, will be affected, but recruiting, I feel like obviously football, they struggled in recruiting this year, and obviously they still have, other years to sign further down the line. But, they canceled all their recruiting trips, for the rest of the year. Those are valuable trips, especially, with high school basketball ending. With, football, there's still people, juniors and sophomores in high school right now that haven't signed anywhere. For other sports, that's still their recruiting season. So I'm worried to see how this will affect this pandemic right now will have ripple effects, for years to come.
I'm interested in how teams are gonna react though off this, because you really don't know what's gonna happen next, and you can't predict what's gonna happen in the future. And it's just hard for like Brendyn said to think about recruiting, but even think about what you're gonna do with head coaching decisions and what you're gonna do with personnel for the coming years. There's a lot that goes into all this. Also, it kind of sucks that you see teams like Dayton and San Diego State that are having the best seasons that they will probably ever have in their university's history, and they're not going to be able to compete for a title. We'll see if maybe the NCAA delays the tournament, but as of now, they're not going to be able to compete for what they legitimately could win, which is just tough to watch.
It's just hard. I feel like obviously we can sit here and analyze everything, but trying to put yourself in the athlete's shoes who have worked every day tirelessly, and I'll focus on basketball in this one. And right now, just with March Madness, they've been working since the summer. If you take our case, our basketball team, they were in Italy over the summer working. They came to school working out in the gym ever since October when practices started up. October all the way to March, the work they've put in, so many things they've sacrificed. And obviously that's your life as a student athlete. That's your life, and they accepted that. But never to expect something like this. And it's hard to imagine how they feel. It's because it's all that work built up for what? Because it's you build that up to qualify for the tournament and win the tournament. And obviously that only one team gets to do that, but you still put in all that work to be that contender. And just to have that all wiped away for something that is really unexplainable right now. And, it's like you have to obviously look at medical people very out of our realm of like what's going on in the world with this virus. But it's just crazy to think that like this has never happened before. Like sports have never shut down like this before.
This is almost like our version of, I mean, I don't want to compare them,
Yeah.
but this is almost like a version of how people reacted to 9/11 because things were just shut down for a little bit. But the difference is, one, that was a travesty that could have been controlled and that had other people responsible.
Yeah.
And two, we don't know when this is going to end. Like that, people started to move on with their lives within a week. This could take months. Like we actually have no idea what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I think it's just the uncertainty. And that's why I think this is so unprecedented. Is like you said, every time there's a national tragedy, like, of course, like you have to mourn and you have to, take that time. But it's as soon as it happens, like people can start, building towards, yes, let's start recovering. Yes, let's start mourning. And, there's a moving forward. And as you said, we can't do that because, I mean, quite frankly, it's probably going to get worse before it gets any better. And it's super scary. So I just want to remind y'all to please stay safe. Please stay sanitary.
Wash your hands.
Wash your
use
hands.
sanitizer.
Listen to, the officials. Make sure that, you fact check what you hear. And,
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Is just like as a citizen of this world, I guess you could call it, like it's so important to just fact check and not spread. I don't want to use the term fake news because
misinformation.
It's important to really do your own research on this type of stuff because, even earlier today, I was talking with some people in our office and I had received wrong information and they corrected me and showed me the real article of what it was. And I think it's just important as like a nation and as a world and, just as, especially, college students like us are living in a different type of world right now. Just like really be aware of what you're listening to and, not spreading misinformation and really just like educating one another because that's really all we can do as a society right now is like educate each other. I think that's just important and I think obviously we'll get to the point where we're able to fix this. We're gonna go to break, but this is a reminder that Illini Drive is brought to you by University of Illinois Division of Intercollegiate Athletics. You can go to fightingillini.com. Unify, develop, inspire, achieve.
Welcome back to Illini Drive on 107.1 WPGU. We're going to continue to talk about, the impact of coronavirus and what that's having on the sports world. I think it was last night or maybe it was this morning. No, it was last night after Rudy Gobert, the center from the Utah Jazz, tested positive for coronavirus. Suspended the rest of their season, so that could mean canceled, that could mean postponed. We'll see. Today, the NHL and the MLB followed suit with that happening. I know there's some high school sports conferences that have canceled theirs, but as a whole, there's still a lot that are going on, which is, I don't want to say a good thing, but it's still it's a little hopeful, but it's also like weird because it's like those are definitely the ones that are managed by the less, I don't want to call them incompetent, but like if you compare them to like who's running the NHL and the MLB, like they're probably the better decision makers.
You think so?
I mean, yeah, they just have the resources, they have the funding to make the decisions that are.
I guess it is also, it's not a business, so they're not relying on it.
Yeah.
So that helps.
I don't know. It's just, I feel like I don't want, because obviously some high school districts have decided to. I think I read in like New York, especially where the virus is very prevalent. But my fear is that they think it's not that big of a deal because the people who are making the decisions aren't as informed, and they put people at risk. But I mean, I think that they're going to make the best decision for them. But it's so weird because, I think yesterday and the day before we were kind of coming to grips with the fact that college sports weren't going to look the same. And now we also have to come to the grips that virtually, there's going to be no sports I mean, for the foreseeable future. You know what I mean?
It's going to be a while because,
yeah.
I mean, NBA's already I mean, every sports league is basically canceled. The MLB has said they're canceling spring training and they're going to push back opening day. So it's going to take a while. And, I mean, I think it was Mark Cuban who said, like, the NBA season might be going until, like, August.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Which means that's at least a month, potentially more than that.
And I think that's more crazy because not only does it just affect the games, it's going to affect the draft. Like we have, I mean, the draft is in late June, July.
It's after the finals, so late June.
Yeah, so it's in late June. I mean, with that, you have obviously the combine in the NBA is not as big as a deal as it is in the NFL, but it's still, I mean, a pretty big deal. I mean, you have that's going to be affected. I mean, MLB. There's just so much.
Even the NFL draft,
even the NFL draft. I mean, it's supposed to happen in a month.
Yeah.
Something I saw today, and obviously, I'm obviously going to bring up the Steelers, but Mike Tomlin was because I follow them. Mike Tomlin was at Clemson today, obviously looking at, players there. And then the Steelers kind of, put out a thing, we're monitoring all travel and, necessary travel, because I'm assuming Mike Tomlin had been there for a couple days. I don't think they would just send him out there today amidst all of this. But with the NFL draft and everything, you still have coaches and players trying to meet and trying to, talking. Obviously, you could have phone meetings and, things like that. But when you're trying to really, get to know a player and, if they're fit for your team, that's kind of hard to do over the phone. And so I think that's one of the most immediate impacts for pro sports is the NFL draft, just because it's so close. Obviously, all the cancellations, everything, that's the most immediate. But looking ahead, and then how do you actually host the NFL draft?
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. So what's the fix for that? And I think right now nobody's thinking of that, because you have to think about what is happening right now, because this is such literal hour by hour, minute by minute thing that's going on. But that's coming up, and that's essential. You can't not have the NFL draft. And can you push that back? How does that work?
Yeah.
And then, if you do push that back, does that give teams more time to cut players, to sign players?
Right.
All these things, does that postpone the NFL season? There's so many things to think about.
Yeah, that's the one league that we haven't seen really have a response. Obviously, they're having meetings, but they haven't made an official statement.
I think they're closing down stadiums and stuff that.
But I mean, the NFL calendar has already started with the combine and the drafts next month. So I mean, it's gonna have an effect, and they're gonna have to have a response for it. All those are valid points that you brought up about them not being able to talk to prospective draftees that they want, and them not even being able to have a draft. So it's going to be super insane. I think over the break we were talking about how this even affects high school sports. I mean, for the most part, I mean, IHSA is still going on, the basketball tournament. I'm not sure what they're going to do with their spring sports, because their spring sports seasons are just starting right now. But I know Chicago Public Schools, which is the biggest district in Illinois, still has yet to close schools. Which I don't know if they will. They have contingency plans to make sure that they can still get resources to students in need. But yeah, I don't know. This is all just I don't know. It's just so surreal. And I mean, you have to, find an answer to a million questions when you don't know how any of this is going to go in the next month.
It's also just harder for high schools, and especially middle and elementary schools, because for them to cancel school, they don't really have the ability to go online in the same way that a university does, because we have in basically every class you have some form of an online presence, and that way you can just upload online lectures. You can, I don't know if you guys have started doing this, but I've had Zoom conferences for classes.
I have yet to do that, but I probably will be.
Yeah, so you can still meet, see people in person. You can still, online, you can still see them, but there's not the same resources provided with, I mean, maybe high schools, but middle schools, elementary schools, absolutely not.
I mean, and it won't be provided in, maybe some certain high schools have it, but not all high schools will have any type of access to, online lectures and all this software that's, I mean, obviously going to cost money. I mean, it's just something that's super, super, disheartening to see because
It's inconvenient.
Yeah, I mean, and it's inconvenient in the worst way because that's something like are we gonna make every single kid under the age of 18 who's like, or every high school, middle school, elementary school kid like repeat a grade because they can't finish the grade? Like it's something that I don't know that it's just more questions, and I know we're probably just putting worry out in the air, but it's like I don't know, it's just something that we have to think about and something that I hope that the people who have more power than us are truly thinking about because I mean this is going to affect every single aspect of life. You think about the economy, you think about obviously education, you think about public services. So it's going to be something that I hope with all my heart that the people above us with their power can make sure that they make the right decisions so that all of us are in the best spot.
Yeah, definitely.
I know you just said that you hate to bring worry on the air, so we're gonna stop the worry for a second, okay?
Thanks,
Nice
Gabby.
transition.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll take it.
I was like, where is this going?
Okay, you weren't supposed to say it was a transition. It was supposed to be just like a flow, but whatever. We're gonna stop worrying for a second because you know what? Everyone's worrying on Twitter. And everybody has the right to worry. Everyone should be concerned. I'm not trying to say that, but there was a big event before all this went down the past 2 days. There were two big events. Monday Night Bachelor, Tuesday Night Bachelor finale. Let's go. We all watch the show. We talk about it on both the Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday crew. Let's bring a little light to this somber day.
I think it was obviously this is the only time that I've watched Bachelor, but I have to imagine based on Twitter reaction that it was probably the most interesting and like
this has been the craziest season.
And
Really?
it wasn't even
so?
like I just think the finale.
The end.
It was so insane.
This has been the craziest ending.
Yeah.
It was so weird to me though because like it
or
felt
weirdest. Weirdest.
Yeah. I think just with Peter, so those of you who don't know, spoiler alert, so if you haven't watched it, turn it down. But he it looked like Madison was the front runner, and then Madison went on the home visit and everybody, what's her name? Barbara?
Barbara.
It's Barb.
Barb. Yeah, she's a Barb.
She's a Barb. She's a Karen. Barb is the new Karen.
Barb and the rest of the Pilot Pete family kind of grilled Madison because of her values, and I think that was pretty much the driving force that made her want to go home and not want to deal with that anymore. So then, Peter obviously has one choice left if he wants to end with any type of relationship. Isn't really honest with how Madison went home and then proposes to Hannah Ann, which I think if Madison was there, he would have proposed to Madison, which makes me feel like Hannah Ann was the second choice. And then after,
Hannah Ann was most definitely a second choice, and he just didn't want to admit it.
And that's why, I'm so glad because they spent like a month apart because, they had to make sure that they were apart for filming so that nobody knew. And then when they got back together, Peter basically broke up with her, but it looked like Hannah Ann was the one that was in control of that breakup. She had I saw on Twitter, she had the monologue that everybody practices 2 weeks later in the shower. That's how you win the argument. She had that down and,
she was prepped for it.
No, she was prepped. She was ready.
He initiated the breakup,
yeah, but
then
won.
she controlled it.
She won.
She won the breakup, and he was the one left crying. I'm sure she did her crying in the car.
Of course,
and, later on, but no, I'll be honest. I haven't really been a Hannah Ann fan this season.
Me too.
Same.
A lot of us out here, but she flipped the switch. She realized her worth, and she said, "Peter, this is unacceptable." Good for her for standing up for herself. I love that for her. She recently said in an interview though that she wants to date Tyler Cameron from Hannah Brown show. Hannah Brown is Peter's ex.
Why does she find a real person?
That's weird.
I feel like
That's just calm down for a second, okay?
Yeah, obviously it's probably hard to find somebody now that you're famous, find somebody real. But
all
it
the
can't
Bachelor
be that hard.
No, all the Bachelor people date the Bachelor people.
That's so
after the
weird.
show.
That's just so much.
There's a handful
energy.
of them who are dating right now who were on different years.
Well, that's
they all become
through Paradise
friends.
though, partially.
They all become friends and stuff.
Yeah, of course, but it's so
also then they're just all intermingling. It's a little weird though, because it's like that friend group in high school who all dates each other. You know what I mean? It's kind of that,
so
but
much
for
toxic energy.
famous people.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, and then
so Hannah Ann and Peter break up.
Right.
Hannah Ann pops off. She says says what she has to say, definitely rehearse that, good for her.
Good for her.
She leaves. Then we see Chris Harrison.
Best wingman of all time. Came to save the day to show the whole network. He
says, I did a little something Peter didn't even ask me to do. Peter didn't even know I was doing this.
I need me a Chris Harrison
in
my life.
He flew to Auburn, Alabama to talk to Madison and basically told her, listen, Peter, Hannah, and they got engaged but broke up. Peter wants you. And Madison was like, let's go.
I hate to cut you off, Gabby. According to Chicago Sun-Times reporter Michael O'Brien, the IHSA tournament has just been canceled. Sorry to bring that somber energy back, but it's breaking news. It had to be said. I mean, we already kind of talked about what that would mean. I think that means that maybe classes are next. They still have to figure out so much more than we would have as university students. But I
don't think it's a guarantee, though.
I don't think it's a guarantee either. Because it's just so hard.
Yeah, because IHSA will have a big crowd. It'll have like people from around the state. You might be able to get away with that with classes because it's all local.
I don't know. But yes, so the IHSA State Basketball Championship has been canceled. That's sad for, I mean, you even look at Adam Miller, the Morgan Park recruit. He won't be able to play in his state championship, and Morgan Park is such a powerhouse out of Chicago. So, just adds to the sad energy. Sorry again. Gabby, if you want to continue with Bachelor talk,
yeah,
please
we can continue. So Chris Harrison grabs Madison. They go to L.A. There, they have Madison show up at Peter's house unexpected. Okay, Peter's a bad actor.
He was like standing over the pool.
He's like standing at the pool just staring. When did you get here?
Boy, you know.
It's just, it's the most staged thing.
Exactly. So they talk and they're like, okay, maybe we can make things work. Fast forward a month, we're in the live show this Tuesday. Madison and Peter have not seen each other since that day that Madison came to LA. So now we bring out Madison and we bring out Peter. And that's where we go live on Tuesday. And then it kind of goes down between Barb and Madison.
I thought it was going to
Does it even go down, though? It's more like Barb's just
embarrassing herself, her family.
And
she didn't embarrass anybody but herself.
And Madison says, like, one thing, but it's not even insulting Barb. It's just saying, like...
No, Madison did the right thing, in my opinion. Like,
well, the one thing she probably should have done was apologized, even if she didn't mean it.
I think the thing about the apology, though, is that they were, like, to my understanding, like, made them wait 3 hours or whatever. That was them talking about their relationship.
No, Barb was wrong for, like, getting mad about that, but I think, like, if you're Madison, just suck it up and, like, apologize even if you don't mean it.
I wonder if they had a Barb cam somewhere in the studio, like, during the live taping, because I wonder if I imagine Madison wasn't watching Barb the whole time, but, like, literally every time Madison was on the screen, Barb was rolling her eyes, giving her nasty looks, and that's just so, I mean, that's sad.
I don't think they did, because I saw some interview that Chris Harrison had where he's like, yeah, I had no idea that there was the, like, block crazy. Of Barb the whole time.
That's great producing, though.
It is.
It's just embarrassing because you're on live TV, and no matter if this is kind of like a stupid reality show or not, like, you are still, like, representing your family, and to go off and, like, insult a 23-year-old girl, I think that's really embarrassing, and personally, I don't think Madison needed to apologize because she made a really good point. Like, that was her, journey, too, and I think Peter's mom is just being so immature. Like, you are what, in your 40s or 50s, probably in her 50s, near 60s by now, and you're insulting a 23-year-old girl? Insulting...
I think it's more than that, though, because it goes back to even the Monday episode where...
Well, yeah, just, like, belittling her beliefs, belittling her faith, and just, like...
She just buys into Hannah Ann for some arbitrary reason.
And Hannah Ann, during that home visit, like, Hannah Ann wasn't, like, I didn't see a real side of Hannah Ann until that breakup scene, which was so perfect because we saw that she was actually a real person, genuine person, had feelings. But, like, throughout the whole time, she was just so, like, I'm, like, literally, I feel like she was just, like, putting on the fake so she could get as far as she did.
Very, like, pageant-like.
No, of course. And during that home visit, she was so fake. And she didn't say anything. And that's the thing that I really respected Madison for, is that she didn't go in there and just because it was her family, like, say anything about her beliefs. She stood up to Barb, and that's why Barb, put on that whole bring her home like crying, all that stuff, is because she wanted somebody that, she could be best friends with, not the person that, is objectively best for Peter.
I think it's weird. It's just
Barb?
weird. Yeah,
She's
to
weird.
have like a 6-year-old woman yelling at a 23-year-old girl on TV.
It's
like, are you out of your mind?
It seemed like she kind of got, too invested in what The Bachelor was bringing her in terms of fame. Like, she almost became a character, and it's like,
absolutely.
You are not in this.
She was talking. She was like, "Yeah, I got some positive reactions in my DMs, and
From
some
who?
negative." I'm like, "You better only have gotten negative reactions in your DMs." And it's like, I don't wish negative interactions on anybody, but like, if you're gonna bring up your DMs and like the fame that people are bringing you because of this show, it's like, it just seems so staged, and like her whole crying scene, and like even Peter, he was like, "Don't do that." Like that was a great moment.
I liked how Peter kind of got real with his family, because I feel like she was trying to make this. It's like, it's just so weird, like this grown adult trying to make everything about her when it's her son's journey.
Yeah.
And I know you have to take into context what the show is and everything, and I know everything is over dramatized, but you kind of saw Peter break that like TV show barrier and kind of say his own thing. And
he should have said way more, though.
He should
He
have.
said basically one thing, like,
Yeah.
no, this is the person I care about. You shouldn't talk to her. But he didn't really do anything after that. I mean, the whole time, Barb's just basically like hauling insults at Madison. I mean, what did she say at one point? Like, you have to fail to succeed or something like that.
That was
yeah.
And it's like, that just means you're rooting
I've
for them.
talked with Peter's friends, and we know this isn't going to work out.
Nobody was talking to you, Barb.
Weirdo.
Yeah, I don't know. Barb,
Crazy.
I wish her peace. I wish her...
wish
there was a
she-
tweet that was like, I need The Bachelor to send a camera crew to the Thanksgiving this year.
Literally.
That would be so...
That's what I was thinking that the whole time watching that. Like,
There's
what
no
is-
way Madison and Peter date. There's no way.
absolutely
Well,
not.
I mean, yeah, it's not going to happen, I think, for a couple of reasons, though. Not just because, like, they're really not that compatible.
No.
They aren't. I think they were good. I mean, like, obviously, you put anybody in a perfect situation, which is what The Bachelor is, besides, having to date multiple people, you're going to be good. But I don't think, Peter was probably most compatible with the girls that were sent home, like Lexi, like Kelly, like, that's who he was most compatible
Honestly,
with.
even Hannah Ann. I feel like he was... because
he's a little bit more compatible. I just feel like the only person that was real with him in the last few weeks, especially those last 3 girls, was Madison. And that's why I was rooting for her. But I think, I don't think they date, which is just funny to think about, because it's like, how do you start off with 30 girls and you pick, the 3 worst ones or not the worst ones, but like the 3 ones that, you aren't compatible with,
I mean, and come on, Madison likes basketball, and he doesn't even know who Charles Barkley
Bro,
is. Like,
the whole dribbling,
happen.
Scene was so funny. Also, there was one date where him and Victoria F went to like the carnival, and they were like shooting baskets. He did not make a single one, and it was like the post credits. They literally left it on for a minute and a half. He didn't hit one shot. Like, it was so embarrassing.
During the Madison date too, I remember they showed the scores like 7-6 Madison. I'm like, all right, well, she would have completely clapped him.
Didn't she play in college?
Well, she played in high school.
Played in high school.
She won like 4 state titles or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
She would have dogged
But
him,
I think
bro.
she just she couldn't play at Auburn, but she wanted to go to Auburn because of her dad.
No, of course.
So, but it's sad because the Bachelorette starts May 19th, so we're not gonna be able to talk about it. So after the summer, everyone has to come back prepared with Bachelor in Paradise.
We will do a Bachelor podcast.
Yeah.
For the Bachelorette podcast.
Stay tuned for that, because I think we should actually do that. And then next semester is Bachelor in Paradise. That starts at the end of August, right when we'll be getting back. So we'll be able to get on that from the start.
Y'all already know.
I'm
already prepping.
Start. All right. Well, we can take a break and then talk about something fun too. Just Brendyn's alternative idea to how to air some March Madness games. But just a reminder, Illini Drive is brought to you by University of Illinois Division of Intercollegiate Athletics. To check out their website and even see some of the statements they've made about, everything with the coronavirus, you can go to fightingillini.com. Unify, develop, inspire, achieve.
Welcome back to Illini Drive. Earlier today, I had a tweet because there will be no. Well, this was before they canceled the NCAA tournament, but I said if they postpone it or cancel it, the TV broadcasters for March Madness should have like a bracket of all the best games from each round and air those so we could at least kind of have that March Madness feel. Of course, we know the outcome, so it's not like real March Madness or anything like that. But so I just wanted to bring that back up and ask you guys. I guess we'll do top 3 games from.
Well, you did rounds, right?
I did
because I
rounds.
got rounds.
You got rounds now. Okay, we can do rounds. I know Gabby doesn't have all her rounds. So
I have Elite 8. Hold on.
We could go through ours.
We could go through
I have
ours.
Elite 8, Sweet 16, and Final.
I went up to Final Four. I still don't have a championship. But
I have a championship.
Championship's obvious. There's 2 that are obvious in my mind.
Okay,
I'll start.
Okay.
So Nithin gave me some flack for this one, but I really do believe that the UMBC versus Virginia game from 2018 was really good just because, of course, it's the first time that a number 16 seed beats a number 1 seed. Also, the UMBC Twitter has been funny for 2 years because of that singular moment.
It's kind of gotten old for me.
I mean, it got old, but like the first year was so funny.
It was
so
good for like 2 weeks. They started.
I liked it, and then
right.
I don't know. I liked it. I appreciated it. And then after that, I guess it just set up the biggest comeback story of all time because you're a number 1 seed, you get upset, and then the next year you come back and you win. If you're Virginian, you win the whole national championship. So I think that's why that game was so impactful. Yes, it was a 20-point blowout, but I think that game just means so much and shows you how crazy March can get because one year you're a number 1 seed and you lose in the first round, and then the next year you win the whole thing. So I think that's why it's just so crazy.
I'll admit that it is like a memorable game. So maybe for me personally, I wouldn't want to watch it just because it's a blowout. But I understand the fact that this is a game where a guy that no one knew about, Jairus Lyles, just went off and created the biggest upset in sports history. Would you say?
I don't. Well, definitely biggest upset in NCAA or in college basketball. It's hard. I don't know. We could debate that anytime, but it's one of them.
All right, should I go with mine?
For your number 1? Yeah, please. For round 1?
Yeah, round of 64. I had Florida Gulf Coast, Georgetown, 2013. That was one of those games that I just will never forget. Dunk City being invented and then Sherwood Brown going off. Otto Porter Jr. was on. I'm pretty sure he was on that Georgetown team. I'm pretty sure
2013.
Yeah,
I do believe so. Yes.
I'm pretty sure he was on that team. So it was a 2 seed. It was a 15-2 upset, and it was a close game, back and forth, and then FGCU just took over at the end. It's one of those iconic games that I will never forget. Yeah,
no, I definitely think that was one of the craziest games. Anytime there's a huge upset like that, especially in the first round, we love to see it. My second round is very recent. It's last year's Duke versus UCF.
I think that was a great game.
I think that was an insane game. The hype was insane because this was college basketball super team when you get the 3 of the top 10 players from a senior class and all going one and done. And it was, Taco Fall, who's this mammoth 7'7", center going against Zion Williamson. And I think when the brackets were set, that everybody wanted that matchup. I don't think either of them lost the matchup. I think it was always who's going to dunk on who's going to block who. Taco Fall is just, you can't really dunk. It's hard. But, Zion Williamson misses that free throw, but it's not RJ. It's Cam Reddish gets to.
No, RJ got it.
He got it?
RJ got the board.
Taco Fall would have gotten that rebound if he didn't foul out.
Yeah.
And Duke would have lost that game if he didn't foul out. And I think that just shows you how crazy it can be because, Duke obviously wasn't.
Well, you never know because if Taco gets it, he gets fouled right away, and he's probably missing at least one of those free throws.
They were
if not both.
They were up 1. So, even if they hit 1, Duke wasn't a great 3-point team.
Yeah, but they'd be up 2 then.
So, UCF would have been up 2.
Yeah. But Duke would have had the ball.
It could have went into overtime. But I just think that if Taco Fall doesn't, and then they don't get
it is a different game.
I think it's a different game, and I think UCF wins. That's just my opinion.
It also, the ball rimmed out.
Oh, yeah.
On the
last shot, the UCF shot, it rimmed
Aubrey
out.
Dawkins tipped it in, and it just rimmed out. It was as close as it gets.
Yeah, that game was insane, and it was the first team. obviously they were testing the regular season, but they had injury problems. It was the first team to really, really test them in the tournament. Of course, Michigan State would beat them in the Elite Eight, I believe. Yeah. Is that
all right? That's actually better than the one I picked.
It's so good.
For me, I had Georgetown Davidson 2008, and it was like that was the moment when Steph Curry basically said to like the basketball universe, I'm here. I'm one of the best players in the world. And I mean, I think the game before that people remember more, and the Kansas game in the Elite Eight where they lost by 1 point. But in this game, like Steph didn't have a great game, but he was still able to make this huge comeback in the second half. They were down 10 at the half.
Yeah.
They end up winning the game by 4. I mean, that's a testament to how good Steph Curry was in that season.
No, of course. Steph Curry obviously has one of the best NCAA tournament runs, just, you know.
And he only made the Elite Eight.
Yeah, it's insane. Just coming from Davidson and doing what he does. And, of course, now we know how good he was in the NBA, which is, I mean, moving to my Sweet 16 matchup, you know, sometimes people are good in the NCAA and don't, you know, turn out to be great in the NBA, as we've seen with Adam Morrison and Gonzaga versus UCLA. Adam Morrison had one of the best college seasons. I mean, he scored 28 points a game, won an award. Gonzaga, I forget what seed they were, but they also had, I think it was like 16 or 17 point lead in that game against UCLA.
And they were up like 6 with.
Yeah, they had. They had a huge lead,
yeah.
And it all slipped away. And it was just something that's so crazy. I think Ryan Hollins was on that UCLA team. I mean, it's just crazy to see like how something can slip away, and like then you saw the emotion of Adam Morrison after the game, and he didn't even get the last shot, which was so like crazy to see. Obviously, he wasn't in position for it, but even then, like. So crazy to see.
And he was having an unbelievable game too.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean, everything was right there for them to win. But after that, Morrison went to the NBA. Didn't have a terror. I mean, he was all rookie team, and he was a role player on a Lakers team that won the.
It definitely didn't pan out though.
Oh, of course.
It was a guy that you thought could be like this.
If he wasn't like an 8-time All-Star, it didn't pan out. You know what I mean? Like just the way he played in his last season at Gonzaga. So,
but I mean, he only lasted 4 years.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
So for my Sweet 16 game, I had Michigan, Kansas, 2013, and this is the year that Michigan went to the title game and lost to Louisville. Mm-hmm. So I guess they're technically national champs, even though because that Louisville title got vacated. But in this game, the big thing to remember is the Trey Burke shot. It's the deep like 30-footer where he hits like the dead spot of the rim and then it just goes in. Mm-hmm. And it was in the midst of another huge comeback, it's kind of a trend with my list. But that Michigan team was really fun because you had Trey Burke, you had Nick Stauskas, you had Glenn Robinson. I loved Nick Stauskas.
Loved him. I thought he was going to be so cool.
I know. Yeah. And who else was? Mitch McGarry was on that team. Mm-hmm. Tim Hardaway was on that. Like, it was a really good Michigan team.
Yeah.
I actually have a Sweet 16 game. Sorry, I'm like over here.
No, go ahead.
Sneezing.
We're going to try to go quickly, though, because we only have a couple minutes.
Oh, shoot, yeah. Okay, mine was the Purdue-Tennessee game last year in the Sweet 16. I don't know if you guys remember it, but one of Purdue's players, I can't find the name right now, but went off for like so 20 points. I don't know. I just thought it was a good game.
Wait, was that the Tennessee game?
Yeah, Tennessee.
I think that was the Ryan Klein one, right?
Yeah, it's Ryan Klein. That's who it was.
Because Carson Edwards had like 3 insane games, and then Ryan Klein had 1 insane game.
It was his game. It was that one. I don't know. I'm just doing games I really remember well.
Right.
I don't know. I like that one. And it's interesting to see Purdue last year versus Purdue this year.
That is true.
It's not like big difference.
On to Elite Eight, I think. I mean, as a Illinois, radio show, I mean that's the one that I'm gonna pick. No introduction needed. But I mean they're down 15 with 4 minutes left, and it's insane. The insanity of March just happens, and I think not only is that
greatest comeback,
it's one of them. I mean, you could put that up there with. I mean, and not only is
it's so iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it's the greatest comeback.
Not only is it so such a marquee win in Illinois history, it's in NCAA tournament history. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best comebacks, one of the best wins. So. It's just crazy to see that, belong to Illinois.
Yeah, I figured that was going to get picked, so I didn't want to choose that.
Of course.
I went UVA Purdue last year.
Yeah.
That was the game where Carson Edwards just would not miss.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pulling up on DeAndre Hunter, who's like one of the best defensive wings in the country. And then you have the Mamadi Diakite shot to send it to overtime where Ty Jerome misses the free throw on purpose. Kihei Clark grabs it, throws it 3/4 court. Diakite, that weird floater over Matt Harms, who's like 7'2".
Right, no, of course.
And it goes in. They win in overtime. Great game.
I'm not going to say anything else because we only have 2 minutes, but Illinois versus Arizona.
Of course.
Yeah.
My Final Four, Wisconsin versus Kentucky in 2015. This was the Kentucky team that I think went undefeated. Until that point,
Was that the Kaminsky-Decker
they
Wisconsin
had
team?
Yeah. It was Kaminsky-Decker. They had Tyler Ulis, Karl Anthony Towns. They had Devin Booker. They had
Trey Lyles,
Willie Cauley-Stein. They had so many people that started playing in the NBA. Undefeated, loses to a team that was built off, 4-year guys.
Okay, I couldn't.
Quickly.
Yeah, I had trouble thinking of one. I went Loyola, Michigan, 2018. Loyola was up for a while. Michigan comes back and wins that game.
I don't have a Final Four, but another Elite Eight. Kansas versus Duke, 2018. That was in Grayson Allen's.
Yeah.
He forced the overtime shot.
No, he missed it, right? I thought he
he missed it,
missed
which
the game
sent them
winner,
into overtime. Yep. Okay, final.
Final, Georgetown, North Carolina, 1982, Michael Jordan.
Nova UNC 2016, back-to-back 3-pointers.
That was mine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you guys for joining us this half semester. We don't know where we'll be in a week if classes and school will continue. You will be updated. Thank you again for joining us today. Gabby, hit the music.